Hey guys, welcome to P&W Enduro. Riding another red bike today. This is the 2021 Beta 300 RR. Got a nice cold winter day, but it's dry, so should be pretty good conditions here. It's been actually about a year since I had the beta, the 2020 betas. A year to the day actually that Beta Canada lent me those ones. So I'm trying out Russ's bike today. And I'll go over some of the changes on this bike. So of course the new beta bikes are counterbalanced. Vibration nowhere as smooth as the KTM. Similar to the Shercos. So the power delivery itself on this Beta 300 motor is one of the best, I think, for single track riding. It's very manageable, still has a lot of torque like you would expect from a 300. Just maybe a little bit easier to ride than some of the other ones. So this particular bike is pretty new. It's got about 12 hours on it. Still mostly stock. It's got Astra handlebars. Everyone these days is running around here. Anyways. It's got an AXP racing skid plate and a pipe guard added. Jetting is still stock. And of course full wrap hand guards have been added as well. So this being the standard RR model, oil injected. It's got the sacked suspension. Doesn't have the KYB like the race edition does. I'm not a huge fan of these forks. The last time I tried them on the betas. So one of the changes from this year is they've done some different valving, front and back. It's feeling alright so far. Mostly some flowy stuff we're hitting so far, but the forks feel okay. Something about the beta bikes. The engines just sound so good all the time. It's quite a quiet motor. So still stock tires and tubes on this bike. The stock tires leave a lot to be desired performance-wise. What I am a fan of is the transmission on this bike. I think they've got the gearing and the spacing set up really good for single track riding, enduro riding. First gear is quite low but still usable. Not noticing really big gaps that bother me in the transmission. So I do think the valving on the forks for this year is a little better than the 2020s. Forks actually feel pretty plush. I remember last year I thought they were a bit harsh in the mid-range. I still think I'd put a revalve on these, being mine. Or I'd at least need to respring them for my weight. One thing that's quite noticeable in this tight stuff is the biggest negative with this bike is the steering radius. It just doesn't want to turn sharp. Can help that a little bit by taking the steering stop bolts out, but it's been known to be a little bit of a weak spot on the betas. So one thing about the beta no one seems to talk about is these bikes come with 6 months of warranty. 6 months. KTM, Husky, Gas, 30 days. That is a huge difference. Especially if you're buying a bike this time of year. We're about to get snow tomorrow. We might not be able to ride for a few weeks. You get a new bike and in those 30 days, you may only get a couple rides. It would be nice if more bike companies would back up their product like that. I know Beta's been really good. A couple of years ago, they had the bearing failures, and they were fixing those outside of warranty. Where you get warranty issues with KTM, like my buddy, his bike was sitting in the shop for 3 months before anything was done to it. He lost his whole summer of riding, so that's a real bummer. Of course, parts availability with the Beta isn't going to be as good. I mean, a lot of companies are struggling right now with that because of high demand and low supply. I just love the power delivery on the Beta 300. It's just a pleasure to ride. And single track, it's just perfect power delivery. Tons of torque. Doesn't have a really hard hit. Very manageable. The motors is definitely Beta's strong suit. Of course, you got a map switch, an adjustable power valve. Map switch right here. That should be rain mode. again, not much difference between the two modes in my opinion. Again, the suspension valving is improved over last year. That's the biggest thing I'm taking away from riding the 2021 so far. Not a lot of changes this year on this bike. Of course, they went back to their traditional red colors that kind of Beta's known for.
6 more behind us.
6 more, one more guy back there. So the bike does feel heavier to ride than my KTM. So one thing I'm noticing, they have changed the trip computer. It actually works. I know that's a problem with the betas in the past, is like half the time, if not more, they just don't seem to work. This one's working, so hopefully they got that sorted out. Maybe another little minor complaint with this bike is the seat is pretty uncomfortable, but we don't spend a lot of time sitting down anyways. So this bike being oil injected, I know some people aren't comfortable with that, but I think the failure rate is very low. But there is a delete kit if you want to get rid of that, shave off a bit of weight, and then go back to the old-fashioned pre-mixing. So another thing with the betas, a little bit cheaper than the KTMs and the Shercos. Still adding skid plates to these, spark arresters, standard stuff. Here's another little gripe. That kickstand still is way too short. Look at the lean on that bike. Come on. It needs to be like 2 inches longer. I know it's minor, but that's kind of silly. liking the beta this year. Some subtle changes. Improved the suspension a little bit. That's a solid bike for 2021.